were you employed at in 2007?
Northgate Apartments, Minot.
And what did you do there?
Resident manager of apartment complex.
And what does it mean to be a resident manager of that apartment complex?
What did I do there?
Yes.
Leases, showing apartments, deposits, help maintenance guys.
Okay. How long did you hold that position?
16 years.
And what years were those?
I'm sorry, what?
What were the dates, the years for those?
I still didn't catch that.
You said you worked there for 16 years. What
Yes.
were the dates?
Yeah, 16 years I worked there.
Okay. Starting what year and ending what year?
Probably about 1989, somewhere in there, until 2012.
Okay. And what was the address of the Northgate Apartments?
It started at 2400 4th Street Northwest,
Okay. And that's in what city?
Minot, North Dakota.
All right. Do you recall a lease with regards to an individual by the name of Anita Knutson?
Yes.
Okay. And was anybody else on that lease with her?
The last one,
Was anybody else on that lease with her?
Nichole Rice.
Okay. What was the apartment number of that apartment?
It was 2420, number 5.
And could you describe that apartment for us? How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms?
2 bedrooms, 1 bath.
And could you describe the building that it was in?
Did I what?
Could you please describe the building that that apartment was in?
It was a building that had 8 apartments, 4 on the north side and 4 on the south side.
Okay. And which side was number 5 on?
North side, I believe.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to June 4th of 2007. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
What did you do that day?
Went to work.
Okay.
Did the normal duties, probably work in apartments or get an apartment ready for showing, because it was beginning of the month. Just a daily routine.
Okay. And when you were done with work that day, what did you do?
Went up to my apartment.
Okay. Now, is your apartment also at Northgate?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And why is that?
I was the resident manager.
Okay. Was that something that was part of your employment?
Yes, it was.
Okay. When you went home at the end of the day, what did you do?
Went up to my apartment, like cleaning up from the day of like leases or what I had laying there, preparing dinner.
Okay. Did anything of note happen while you were preparing dinner?
I'm sorry, what?
Did anything of note happen while you were preparing dinner?
Something that happened.
Yeah.
There was a knock at the door. My maintenance guy answered the door because I was like busy, like preparing dinner.
Okay.
He told me that I needed to come to the door. I went to the door, and a gentleman was standing there and said that tried to get a hold of his daughter for several days, him and his wife. Asked if he could have a key to get into the apartment. I told him I couldn't give him a key, but I could go down there and open up the apartment for him.
And what did you do?
When I got my keys, and we proceeded down to the apartment.
Okay. And which apartment was it that he needed opened up?
2420 4th Street Northwest, apartment number 5.
Okay. Did you ever get this gentleman's name?
Gordon.
Okay. And you went to that apartment with Gordon. What did you do next?
I remember going to the door, and it seemed like it was locked because it wouldn't turn the knob. So I grabbed my keys and opened the door. Well, it clicked. It was like a little hard, but it clicked, so I knew it was locked, and gained entrance into the apartment.
Okay. Once you unlocked the door, what did you do?
Gordon went in first, and I followed behind him. And He went down towards the bedroom, and I stood in the kitchen area where I could see the bedroom door, or the bedroom area.
And then what did you see next?
Gordon coming out, and saying we need to call the police department.
Okay. And did you call the police?
I can't remember if it was myself or Gordon called the police, but one of us did.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that your maintenance man answered your door to your apartment.
Yes.
Who is the maintenance man?
Marty and Al.
Okay. And why was Marty in your apartment?
We lived together.
Okay. You were romantically involved?
Yes.
Okay. For approximately how long?
About 10 years.
Okay. Now, you said Marty was the maintenance man. How long had he worked for Northgate Apartments as the maintenance man?
Probably almost 2 years.
And Marty lived with you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was living in the apartment part of Marty's compensation package from the apartments like it was yours?
Yeah, I guess basically probably. The owner knew he was living there.
Okay. But the apartment was for the resident manager, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, this maintenance man is a name that keeps coming up throughout this trial. We heard it in opening statements. I'm sure it'll continue to be a thing. All right, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll have more testimony, so keep it here on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott here with Michael Ayala, and we are watching together in North Dakota the toxic roommate murder trial for Nichole Rice. The state claims that Rice fatally stabbed her roommate Anita Knutson back in June of 2007.
But the defense points to other possible suspects and argues that the charges against Rice over a decade later are, quote, a miscarriage of justice driven by media sensationalism.
Let's get you back into court. Right now we're hearing from the resident manager of the apartment complex where Knutson and Rice live. She's on direct examination describing what happened when the father showed up and said, I need to get to the apartment because I haven't heard from my daughter, and he found her there. Let's go back in.
Now, you said that Marty lived with you. Had you seen Marty earlier that day?
Yeah, we worked together that day.
Okay. What all did you all do together?
Worked, shopped, met up with friends once in a while at night.
Okay. With the two of you working together, were you working side by side? Were you working apart? How did that work?
And together.
Okay. And were there ever periods of time when you're working together that you and Marty were not within each other's eyesight?
Not really.
Okay. And you said not really. What does that
If
mean?
I was like cleaning and I needed maintenance done, the toilet fixed or a patch in the wall, he did that while we were still in the same apartment, in the same area working together.
Okay. Now, you said that you and Marty lived together about 10 years. What was your relationship?
He was my fiance.
What were Marty's duties at Northgate Apartments?
Duties of a maintenance guy, repairing, lawn work. I guess that's basically it, repairing things.
Okay. When Marty would repair things, what would he do with them?
If it was something like if it's a toilet in an apartment, and he did it right there.
What if it was something that couldn't be repaired in the apartment?
Screens.
Okay. What would he do with those?
They would go to the shop
Okay. And there was a shop? Where was the shop located?
on the same grounds.
Okay. On the date that Gordon came knocking on your door and asked you to let him into Anita's apartment, was there something that needed repaired for that apartment?
A screen.
Okay. Did you see the screen?
After we got taken into the shop, yes.
Okay. Can you describe the screen?
The frame was bent and there was a cut in it.
Okay. Was it, can you describe the cut?
No, not really. I just know it was slashed.
Okay. And it was in the shop, correct?
Yes.
All right. Who put it in the shop, to your knowledge?
Maintenance guy, Marty.
Okay. And do you know when it was placed in the shop?
That morning when he walked through to, there's laundry rooms up there in between the units. And we would lock them up at night to prevent vandalism. And then they would get reopened up in the morning.
Okay. Can you describe the kind of screens that were at the apartments at Northgate?
The frames are probably like aluminum. They were easy to bend.
Okay. Were these expensive screens or?
No, probably what a general screen would just be in an apartment.
Okay. Can you please describe the locks that were on the doors at the apartments at Northgate?
Bolt locks.
Okay. And what does that mean to you?
You had to have a key to entrance and to leave the apartment to have it locked.
So you couldn't just pull it shut behind you and it would lock?
No. You had to have the key to do it.
Were the locks changed in those apartments when people moved out?
Yes.
And what was the practice for doing that?
It was Shooks that came up and changed them.
Okay. And Shooks is a lock company?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shooks Locksmith. That's where we got our locks from.
Okay. And what would they do with the old locks when they'd take them off the doors?
We would keep them once in a while. If they were damaged, they went in the garbage.
Okay. Were locks ever recycled on doors?
Once in a while they were.
Okay. And was there ever a record that was kept of what lock got recycled onto what new door?
No.
Can you describe the keys to those locks?
What do you mean, describe the key?
What was the key like, physically?
It was probably about an inch wide on top. They were like heavy-duty keys.
Okay. Are these the kinds of keys that could be... Well, let me ask a different question first off. How many keys were given out to apartment number 5 when Anita Knutson and Nichole Thomas were living in that apartment?
2.
Okay, and why is that?
That's for how many tenants are in that apartment. That's how many keys are issued out.
What was the policy with regards to copying of keys?
You couldn't.
Okay, it wasn't allowed?
No.
All right. Was it possible to copy keys?
All right, still with us, former Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé, and joining us now, trial attorney Lauren Johnson Norris. Lauren, let me start with you. Thank you for joining us. I feel sympathy towards this lady. She gets a little upset, asked about the maintenance man fiance. I think that's because we know from opening statements he killed himself about 1 year after this happened. And my question for you is, the screen that was bent and slashed. To me, that's pretty good evidence for the defense suggesting someone else gained entry into the apartment.
Absolutely. If someone couldn't enter with a key, they didn't have access to the door, slashing the screen and entering the apartment that way would be one way to do it and to get access to this victim.
You know, Philip, I think what I'm hearing, and I'm trying to figure out what the state is doing with this witness, but ultimately they need to show that the entry point was not the window. Because I think if you get any idea that it was the window, then you got some problems with your case. And the police made the assessment early on, very early on, which I struggle with, the idea that someone, whoever did this, had to have access to the apartment, not through a window. That's not how this happened. Based on the layout of the room, it was a little confusing to me. But I think that's what the state's trying to accomplish with this witness, correct?
Statistically, somebody who has murder on their mind is not going to crawl through a window. That's not how they do it. They're going to go through a door. They're going to create some form of egress and ingress to make it easy to get in and out. And crawling through a window is much too cumbersome and difficult, not to mention you can easily leave behind forensic evidence. So, yeah, I think it's very wise of them to take this approach and rule out what the defense is saying.
Well, and I kind of disagree.
I would disagree.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not a way a person would seek to gain entry. Because to me, that's an easy way. If you know you can slash it, bend it, and get in, who cares about breaking a big old door down? But I know, Philip, we really don't know what happened. If you're the defense, how would you handle a witness like this, Lauren, who is older, who is just up there telling her story?
Ma'am, how old are you? I see. And back then you were how old? And since then, you've had a change in your prescriptions, in your eyewear. You're on Medicare now. Maybe you've had lapses of memory, some disorientation, and some confusion. So there's been significant cognitive changes in your life. Haven't there been, ma'am? Yes, nothing further. And then you leave it at that, because remember, this was 20 years ago, and she's not going to remember with crystal clarity everything that went down to a detailed level.
You know what's interesting, Lauren? The defense also claimed in their opening statement they had a number of people they could point to commit this crime, which is one of the reasons why, you know, they've got a shot, I believe, in this case. And one of them is the maintenance man, because he had access to the apartment. He was the one that cleaned up. He also told someone, I don't know if this was the witness or not, but apparently he told someone he had something heavy on his heart. Then he commits suicide. All of these things the defense is using to suggest maybe he was involved in this.
Well, absolutely. And I think that what's important to know here is the defense does not need to prove who murdered this individual, but needs to create reasonable doubt. And so if the prosecutor can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt who did it, and that Nichole was the person who did it, and a juror says, you know what, I'm not sure. It sounds to me like the maintenance man could have been the one. What did he have heavy on his heart? Why did he take his own life? I think the defense could walk away with that reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I agree. It's that defense of some other guy did it in this particular case. Both of you. Yeah, exactly. They do. All right, if you'll both stand by, please. We need to take a break. When we come back, of course, we're going to get you back for more of the testimony when we return here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story.
Monica Cementelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli.
The celebrity stylist murder trial. Today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, Sudiksha Konanki vanished nearly 2 weeks ago. Now her parents are asking for her to be declared dead. We'll bring you the very latest in this tragic case.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Now back to North Dakota, where a woman is standing trial for allegedly murdering her roommate nearly 20 years ago. Prosecutors have charged defendant Nichole Rice with felony murder in the death of Anita Knutson.
She was found stabbed to death at an apartment the two women shared back in 2007. If convicted, Rice could spend the rest of her life in prison. Let's go back into court. Still on the stand is the manager of the apartment complex where the two girls lived together, and she's on direct examination by the state.
Was it possible to copy keys?
No,
Okay, and why is that?
because they were from the locksmith, and you had to have permission to have them made. And there was only a certain amount of people that could get those keys made.
Okay, in that time frame at 2007, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And could somebody just take that key to Shook's Locks and get that made without you knowing about it?
No.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for
No.
speculation.
Overruled.
Okay, you can answer that.
I'm sorry, what?
You could answer the question.
No, there was only certain people on the list that could get those keys made.
Okay, and who were those people?
Myself and the owner, I know for sure.
Okay. And was a record kept if copies of those keys were requested?
I'm sorry, what?
Was there a record kept if copies of keys for an apartment were requested?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of whether or not keys were made for number 5, copies of keys?
I don't think so.
Okay. You never handled any request for a copy, is that fair to say?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I misunderstood your question.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. If you don't understand me, just tell me, okay? All right. And why was it that it had to go through management or ownership to get a key copy made?
That's the only way you could get a key made.
Was there a fee associated with it?
I'm sorry, what?
Was there a fee associated with that?
If there was a last key, yes.
Okay. Now, you said that Marty would do a walkthrough of the apartment complex. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How often did he do that?
Well, it's ever who wasn't busy or whatever. And we did it in the morning, and we did it about 10 o'clock every night.
Okay. About what time in the morning?
Between 7 and 8.
Were you with Marty when he found the screen that he put in his shop?
No, he went and did the walkthrough himself.
Okay. How long was Marty away from you at the time that he did that walkthrough?
It only probably takes about 10 minutes.
Okay. And did you inspect the window that this screen may have come from yourself?
No, I just knew that when he brought the screen in, he told me what apartment it was.
Okay. All right. Now, Marty is no longer employed with Northgate, is that right?
No.
When did Marty's employment there end?
New Year's Day, 2009.
That's pretty specific. Why do you know that?
It's when he committed suicide.
What was going on in Marty's life at that time?
There was a few things. He didn't get a job that he wanted. He wasn't happy with the job he had. He was diagnosed possible with Parkinson's disease. He lost a nephew or a niece that he was very fond of. I guess basically his family that was here moved away.
Was there anything going on in your relationship?
I thought everything was good.
Okay. You said that he'd lost a niece that he was very fond of. How long before Marty passed away had that happened?
Thank you to Philip Dubé and Lauren Johnson-Norris for joining us this hour.
Folks, stick around. Coming up, we're going to have more testimony from the toxic roommate murder trial for Nichole Rice. So keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala.
And I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Here is a look at the big cases Court TV is tracking. In New Hampshire, the defendant in the Bad Blood shooting trial takes the stand to explain what led up to the shooting of his neighbor.
In the military wife murder trial going on in Kentucky, a forensic psychologist for the state testifies that he did not see anything during his evaluation of Jordan Henning that would have caused him to shoot and kill his wife. Closing arguments are set to begin tomorrow, and then the jury gets the case.
In California, it's day 5 on the stand for defense witness Robert Baker in the celebrity stylist murder trial of his former lover, Monica Simontilli.
And testimony resumes in Court TV's newest case, the toxic roommate murder trial of Nichole Rice. Rice is accused of killing her roommate nearly 20 years ago. When they were both just teenagers, Anita Knutson was found stabbed to death in their apartment in June of 2007.
Now, a friend told police the two had a strained relationship and that Rice once told Knutson, quote, "One way or another, I'm going to get you out of this house." Rice wasn't arrested and charged until 2022 after police claim she made inconsistent statements about where she was the night of the killing.
The victim's adoptive parents testified yesterday. Sharon Knutson told the jury that Anita was afraid of Nichole, and Gordon Knutson, testified about going to the apartment to check on Anita after they couldn't reach her for a few days. That's when he said he saw her lying face down in the bed and that she appeared to be dead.
The manager of the apartment complex where Rice and Knutson live is on the stand. She also dated the maintenance man for 10 years who took his life 2 years after the murder. Let's go back in direct examination.
He lost a niece that he was very fond of. How long before Marty passed away had that happened?
Probably a few months. Don't know the exact date.
Okay. Did Marty have health insurance?
No, we didn't.
And you said his family moved away. Where'd they move to?
His mother moved to Animus to be closer to her sisters because they were all getting up in age. And he had a sister that moved to Minneapolis.
Okay. Was Marty close to his family?
Yes.
What were holidays like for Marty's family?
Well, I guess we always spent Thanksgiving and Christmas, those two main ones, all together as a family.
Okay. And so Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2008, which would have been the holidays just before Marty's suicide.
Yes.
Did you spend those with Marty's family?
No.
What was Marty's relationship with alcohol like?
I drink like by everybody else, and
Did he drink?
yeah, I'm like after work or whatever, or like on a Friday, we'll go have a few drinks.
Okay. And what did you notice of his drinking in the time period leading up to when he committed suicide?
I didn't really see no difference.
Okay. Laura, did Marty own a knife?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I never seen one.
Okay. And you lived with him for 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Mr. Sand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Questions?
Ms. Knapp, thanks for coming in today. So just to clear a couple things up, you said you had been working at these apartments for 16 years, but then you said 1989 to 2012. I just want to make sure I got that right.
I'm estimating, I'm not sure. Oh, wait, no, I worked there longer than that.
Okay. That would be 23 years by my math, but
Yeah, I was going to say, all I know was 16 years.
okay, but so we're not sure of the dates.
Well, not when I started, but when I left there, yes.
So 2012 is when you left.
Yes.
Okay. When did you start dating Marty?
I don't know the exact year.
Can you give me a ballpark?
About 1998, 1999.
Okay. And I am not trying to say anything negative about the dead, but I'm going to ask you, did Marty ever use drugs that you know of?
No.
You sure?
Yeah,
Okay. But
we
he
were
drank?
together for like 10 years.
But he drank?
I'm sorry, what?
But he did drink, you said earlier?
Well, like on a Friday night when, like the end of the week, yes.
Okay. And now you said that Marty was the maintenance man, correct?
Yes.
And you were the general manager of the apartments?
I was the resident manager.
Resident manager. And you said Marty didn't have a knife?
I'm sorry, what?
You had said Marty didn't have a knife?
No,
Did he ever have to use tools in his job, do you know?
yes, it would be like a carpenter knife, a box knife.
Okay, but a knife.
He never carried it with him. It was only during work hours.
Okay. That was Marty working the day that Anita's body was discovered?
Yes.
Okay. Did you talk to Marty at all about what happened to Anita?
No.
You guys didn't discuss it?
No. I just bought the screen that needed to be repaired or whatever. No, we didn't discuss Anita's body or nothing like that.
So after you went in to the apartment with Mr. Knutson and Marty and you found Anita's dead body, you guys didn't discuss that at all? There was no talk about it?
No.
Okay. Now, the state's attorney had asked you about this screen that had been slashed, correct?
Yes.
When's the first time you saw that screen?
That morning when I was in the shop.
You were in the shop with Marty?
Yes.
Okay. Where was the screen? In the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And you were in there with Marty, correct?
Yes.
How did the screen get in the shop? Did Marty bring it in there?
He picked it up and brought it into the shop.
Do you know where he found it?
He said outside that window.
Okay. Did Marty talk to you about a curtain or rods at all being outside that window?
No.
He didn't tell you that he threw a curtain rod and curtains back into the window?
No, there was no mention of a curtain rod or a curtain.
Okay. Do you know where specifically on the property this screen was when Marty picked it up or however he got it to the shop?
Towards the sidewalk.
Do you remember talking to police officers at all?
Well, like up at the apartments?
Yeah, after Anita's death. Were you interviewed by police?
I don't recall really talking to.
You were interviewed by Detective Plessis on June 6th. Do you recall that?
I'm sorry, what?
You were interviewed by Detective Plessis on June 6th. Do you recall that?
Down at the police station, yes,
Yeah.
but not up at the apartments.
Okay, thank you. Do you recall Detective Plessis discussing the lock with you?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you recall Detective Plessis discussing the lock with you? I apologize if you're having trouble hearing.
No, I don't.
No? If I showed you a transcript of the interview you had with Detective Plessis, might that help you refresh your recollection?
Could.
Okay.
When I said that because the door was like
Stop
sticking.
talking, ma'am, please. Ma'am, you have to wait for him to ask you a question.
Oh.
Have you had a chance to read through that, to review it? Ms. Knapp, have you had a chance to read
Yes,
through it?
I'm.
It's just that section's all
Yeah,
you
I'm just trying to catch this.
Okay. Now, Ms. Knapp, after reviewing that, do you recall what you said to Mr. Plessis when he asked you if the door was locked for sure?
Yeah, it was sometimes those doors stick. I don't know if it's because of the dirt or whatever.
Thank you.
Stick,
Thank
but
you.
then
I appreciate it.
I heard it click.
Do you remember calling Detective Goodman about a tip from the landing bar?
What?
Do you remember calling Detective Goodman about a tip you had heard at the landing bar in Minot?
No.
You don't?
No.
Those are the only questions I have, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Knapp.
Ms. Sorgan, do you have any?
That was all of cross. That was pretty short, Michael.
Yeah, it was. But you know what he's doing? He's just raising these things that he can argue later are possibilities in this case to raise reasonable doubt.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right. We want to stop it there, though, because we want to bring you this update in the bad blood shooting trial of Jason Levesque. He's accused of shooting his neighbor, Kyle Violette, after the two got into an argument over plowing snow. Levesque claims he was only acting in self-defense after Violette threatened him and his family.
Now, Levesque got a chance to tell his side of the story today when he took the stand in his own defense.
Now he's pointing at me.
What's he saying?
He's saying, I'm going to kill you and your family.
Stop.
You don't believe me?
Okay. Now what's going on?
He's approaching me again, telling me that he's going to kill me and my family.
You believe him?
I am now.
All right, well, we run it. Okay, is that when you approach him?
Yeah, I think you should probably go back, yeah.
Yeah, probably go back. Start there.
So now he's approaching me again. Now I've decided the threat is real. Instead of going home, he's now approaching me again. I drew my firearm and I fired at him.
So what do you see after you fire that first shot?
I see him go down.
We should start it up. And then what? Hold it.
Then I see there was a pause, kind of surprised by the whole thing that happened, you know. I kind of blanked out when I fired the first shot. Then it was like a flash of TV, the TV goes up, comes back on. I saw him getting up, heading towards the front steps, and then I fired again.
After his direct and really what was a scathing cross, the defense rested and the jury will get the case after closing arguments tomorrow. Levesque faces up to life in prison if convicted.
That's right. Okay, let's take that break now. When we come back, of course, we'll get you back into more testimony in the toxic roommate murder trial. Stay here with us on your front row seat to justice.
I said, that glove won't fit OJ, and if you don't ask him to try it on, I will.
Why do an experiment for the first time in front of a jury? It was utter incompetence.
We believe the glove was his.
It was a setup.
They weren't fitting it.
That was O.J. Simpson's best acting.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Trial and Error. Why did OJ win? A Court TV original series. New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
Hurry up today.
Folks, before we head back to court, we have this update in the celebrity stylist murder trial of Monica Cementilli. Her former lover, Robert Baker, is back on the stand for a 5th day. He is serving life without parole after pleading no contest in the murder of Monica's husband, hairstylist Fabio Cementilli.
Prosecutors alleged Baker and Monica conspired to kill Fabio for his life insurance money. But Baker has testified that Monica didn't have anything to do with the murder. On the stand today, the state questioned him about the lie that he made up about Fabio being abusive to Monica.
And then you said that you only told Austin you were going to rough up Monica's husband because he had mistreated her. Is that again yet another lie?
I did say that.
Okay. Again, another lie?
And another protection lie, yes. Anything.
Explain to us on how trying to dirty up the victim with a lie somehow protects his killers.
I really can't. It would be too, you wouldn't let me explain it if I tried.
I've asked you multiple times now to do so, sir. You have the opportunity right now to explain how trying to dirty up Fabio with a lie somehow protects
As far as dirtying
you
up,
or Austin.
as far as dirtying up Fabio, I wasn't really trying to do that as much as you say it was. That part about what was going on with her and him, I still couldn't put my finger on. I really think there's something going on. There was something going on there the whole time.
In your mind, you think there was something
going on? In my mind,
on?
yes. In my mind, yes.
Now, you heard the mention of Chris Austin. He referred actually to Baker as Unc, that they were so close. He was the son of his best friend. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and agreed to testify against Monica. Now, during his testimony, he implicated Monica, saying she was the mastermind behind the killing. Austin faces 16 years to life when he is sentenced, coming up on April 30th.
And Monica is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. If convicted, she could get life in prison.
Yeah, and again, Chris Austin did a deal with prosecutors to get that possibility of 16 years. All right, let's get back to more testimony in the toxic roommate murder trial of Nichole Rice going on in North Dakota. The resident manager of the apartment complex is still on the stand.
Laura, Mr. Sand asked you about an interview on June 6th at the police department, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was that with Officer Plessis or Detective Goodman?
I don't recall what officer it was.
Okay. And Mr. Sand asked you about when you first saw the screen in the shop with Marty. What drew your attention to the screen?
What was the what screen?
What drew your attention to the screen that you noticed it?
He showed it to me.
Marty pointed it out to you?
In the shop, yeah.
Okay.
He says, I put the screen over here.
Okay. And Mr. Sand asked you about the statement that you had made about sometimes the door sticks, but you had some additional information to add on that, correct?
Yes.
And what is that?
Once in a while, the doors do stick because of the wind blowing in with debris, dirt, dust. But after you work it a bit, it'll click, then you know it's unlocked.
Okay. Now, to clarify, did you try the door without putting a key in it first on June 4th?
Yes.
Okay. And you were aware that the doors sometimes stick. Did you take that into account when you tried to open it?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Sustained.
Okay. How much effort did you put in before you started using a key?
I'm sorry, what?
How much effort did you put into opening the door before you started using a key?
I turned the knob, whatever, and didn't want to, and that's how I knew it was locked. I put the key in, jiggled it a little bit, and then it clicked. And then I turned the knob, and the door opened.
Okay. What did you hear when you used the key?
The click.
Okay. And what did that mean to you?
The door was unlocked.
The door was unlocked once you had used the key?
After I used the key, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Sand?
Just briefly, Your Honor. So the state just asked you about you seeing this screen, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as Defense Exhibit 1.
Okay.
Actually, that would be Defense A.
Is that the screen that you recall seeing?
No, I don't recall exactly if it's that screen or not, because I'm not sure if that's our shop.
I'm going to show this to you one more time, Ms. Knapp. Take a good look at it. Does that look like your shop and the screen that was in it?
I don't recall how the shop was really set up. I don't know if that was in our shop.
So do you remember the screen? And if you don't remember all the events of that day, that's okay. But does that look like the screen in the shop that you saw with Marty that morning?
If we're going to talk about this exhibit, it should be offered, Mr. Sand.
I am offering it, Your Honor.
Permission of voir dire the
leaving it
witness.
one or A? Should be A.
I have it marked as 1, but I can mark it as A if Your Honor, if that's
It'll
what
be
we're doing.
Defendant's Exhibit A. Mrs. Sorgan, is there any objection?
May I voir dire the witness with regards to the exhibit, Your Honor?
Have you seen the exhibit?
Briefly.
All right, you may.
Okay. Ms. Knapp, were you present when that photograph was taken?
I'm sorry, what?
Were you present when that photograph was taken?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Foundation, Your Honor.
Mr. Sand?
I'm simply asking if she, I'll withdraw it and get it in later, Your Honor, but I'm simply asking if she
You've offered,
recognizes this screen.
you've offered the exhibit. Are you withdrawing your offer of the exhibit?
If we're questioning the witness, I'd like to ask her a couple more questions if the state's
I'm
doing.
not talking about the witness. I'm talking about, are you voir diring more for the exhibit, or you got other questions?
I'm asking in voir dire if you have seen that screen, if that's the screen that you have knowledge of.
I know our screens had a white frame.
Again, I'm going to stop you, Mr. Sand. If we're talking about this exhibit, it has to be in. She's objected. Foundation. Do you have a response to the foundation?
I am continuing the voir dire that she began to try to establish foundation, Your Honor. Is that all right?
It is, but not with regard to whether she recognizes the screen or not.
Okay. Does this look like the shop?
Your Honor, objection.
I will withdraw it and try to get it in later then, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you very much. Ms. Knapp, you recall looking at the screen you said earlier?
Yes, I glanced over at it, yes.
Okay. What do you recall that it looked like?
The frame was bent and there was a slash in it.
Okay. Do you remember what the slash looked like?
No, I just know it was cut.
Okay. Do you know if it was cut more than once?
Objection, asked and answered. She doesn't remember.
I didn't ask.
Overruled, not asked and answered.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You can answer it, ma'am. Do you know if it was cut more than once?
I don't recall that, if it was or not.
Okay.